Hello everyone! It seems it's about time for another Hitchcock review. It's been so long since the last one that some of you probably don't even know that I've been doing a Hitchcock review series, but I have. I like to do it at a nice, leisurely pace. Today we're going to take a look at Stage Fright, a 1950 film about murder directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Jane Wyman, Marlene Dietrich, Richard Todd, Michael Wilding, and Alastair Sim. In this mystery thriller, Jane Wyman plays an aspiring young actress who endeavors to help hide and clear the man she's in love with when he becomes suspected of murder. This isn't one of Hitchcock's more famous films, but it is a very good one. I've seen it 3 or 4 times now, and though I often forget just how enjoyable it is, watching it again always reminds me. In a twist on Hitchcock's favorite subject of a man on the run from the police, the main character is not the man himself, Richard Todd, but the woman who's trying to help him, Jane Wyman's Eve, who languishes regretfully in the friend zone, but still will do anything to help the guy. And in another twist on Hitchcock tradition, this heroine is not a blonde, but a sensible, non-glamorous brunette. There is a blonde at the center of it, though, Marlene Dietrich, playing a mature femme fatale, a married woman whose love gets a man into trouble. Stage Fright feels to me like a hybrid of Hitchcock's British and American films. At this point in his career, he'd been working in the United States for a whole decade, but it feels like he's revisiting his roots here. The film is set in England, and while it features an American star, her character's parents are British. And like some of his most popular British films from the 1930s, it has quirky side characters, a charming Englishman who becomes the romantic lead, and witty, flirtatious banter. Not that Hitchcock's American films of the 1940s don't have those last 3 characteristics, but the flavor's a little different, you know? British quirky side characters are not quite the same as American quirky side characters, and here we have several memorable ones. The overly solicitous man in the pub who keeps coming over to Eve when she's trying to get the detective's attention, the feather-brained friend of Eve's named Chubby Bannister, played by Hitchcock's daughter Pat, the lady running the shooting gallery at the garden party who gets credited in the end titles as Lovely Ducks. She's played by Joyce Grenfell, who went on to become a radio, stage, TV, and film icon in the UK. There doesn't appear to be any reason for this character to be featured so much in this one scene, except her excessive enthusiasm is entertaining, and the way she wastes precious time by rattling on about dolls, orphans, and ducks adds to the tension of the moment, and you know how Hitchcock likes to stretch out the tension. Eve's mother, played by Sybil Thorndike, is a similarly droll character, but it's Eve's dad who steals the show thanks to the brilliant casting of Alastair Sim. He plays a ne'er-do-well sometime smuggler, not welcome at home, who we first meet wearing a stretched-out fisherman's sweater he carelessly uses as a napkin whenever he nibbles on something, who reluctantly agrees to help his daughter out once, and then finds himself getting as embroiled as she is, and playing a bit of a detective himself. His presence is a highlight of the film, and he, in particular, feels like a crossover character from Hitchcock's British films. Appropriately for a film that focuses on a couple of performers, there's a good deal of pretending going on. To gain access to the investigation without raising suspicion, Eve pretends to be Marlene Dietrich's dresser's cousin, filling in as a substitute. In a transformation montage reminiscent of later Hitchcock films Vertigo and Marnie, Eve changes her hair color, hairstyle, and clothes, and adds thick glasses and a cigarette to try to complete her disguise. But it doesn't take, and she can't see through the glasses anyway, so she goes instead with the more simple and mousy persona of Doris Teasdale. It's when she first steps out undercover that we get our director's cameo. But poor Eve didn't anticipate that she'd develop feelings for one of the detectives on the case, or that he'd be equally attracted to her. So in addition to playing her part, she also has to run around dodging him so he won't recognize her and blow her cover. It's a worrisome situation, but it's also pretty comedic. Likewise, Marlene Dietrich's character always seems to be performing, whether she's on stage doing a musical number or putting on an act for someone she's talking with privately, the police, a friend, the help. She keeps changing her clothes and her manner, and she does it on a dime, so we're never sure when she's being genuine. A nice touch is that in their first scene together, she never bothers to get Doris's name right. She calls her Phyllis, Elsie, Mavis, and throughout the film, she never deigns to look her directly in the face, until Eve demands her attention. You might also notice that some of Marlene Dietrich's scenes and close-ups look a little bit different from other shots. That's because she was allowed to set them up herself. Alfred Hitchcock famously did not encourage interference from the actors. Before filming even began, he had the entire picture laid out in his mind, and since his opinion of actors wasn't too high, he wasn't interested in taking their requests. But he allowed Marlene Dietrich tremendous creative influence and leeway because he knew that she knew what she was doing. She had worked closely throughout the 30s with director Joseph von Sternberg, who taught her so much about lighting and cinematography that she knew how to set up her own scenes to the best effect, and Hitchcock let her do her thing, a huge mark of respect from the director. I do wonder how this film might have turned out if Hitchcock had made it in color. It wouldn't have been outside the realm of possibility. His previous two films, 1948's Rope and 1949's Under Capricorn, had both been filmed in glorious Technicolor, and there's a running motif in this film concerning a blood-stained dress, which would have been more striking had it not been filmed in black and white. But perhaps it would have been too striking, and the censors refused to let him do it, deeming that audiences in 1950 weren't quite ready for giant bloodstains. I think my main problem with the film, though it isn't really a problem, it's more like a snag, is that despite being as good as it doesn't hold as much rewatch appeal for me. There are other Hitchcock films that I've seen multiple times that I've always been eager to revisit anyway, even though I'm well versed in their outcomes. But this is not one that I have sought out for rewatching, and I think it's because every time I think of it, I think of the twist. I saw it once and was surprised by the twist. Actually, I think the first and second time I saw it, I was surprised by the twist because so much time had gone by in between that I didn't remember anything. Then I saw it again, and I remembered. And that was interesting because then I was going through the film with this knowledge in mind. But whenever the movie has come up since, I've found myself thinking, I already know the twist. Let's watch something else instead. I don't know why I shortchanged the rest of the movie like that. It's not one of those films that's all about the twist and then once you know, the whole thing falls apart. It's not like that. Maybe I respond this way, though, because the film is more mystery than suspense. I don't know. But I bet that it'll be several years before I decide to watch it again, which is strange because when I watched it just a couple days ago, in preparation for doing this review, knowing what happens at the end, I didn't feel like the film was spoiled at all. I enjoyed it, and there's plenty of other stuff going on to keep it interesting. Stuff like the amusing dialogue, Marlene Dietrich's confectionery costumes, her gowns designed by Christian Dior, and her performance of a number that has her recline on 3 separate elongated chaises longues, the nonsensical love scene in the taxi where the ridiculous conversation leads up to a kiss, the tangled web that is the soggy garden party, and the very quiet and nerve-wracking finale. These are all good scenes and strong elements, and they help make this a very entertaining film. It's not one of my favorites from Hitchcock, since there are at least 10 other movies of his that I like even better, but it's a solid entry, and if you haven't seen it before, I definitely recommend that you check it out. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you have seen this film, I'd love to know what you think of it, so go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.